The news is hot. It's hot, people. I'm dealing with what's going on right now. You know, you've got the countries of the world, India, Saudi Arabia, Russia, China. They're meeting together in order to try to come up with an alternative to deal with Trump. And we're tottering here in this realm of anxiety regarding what's happening with Wall Street is all shook up and the dollar's going down. And I'm going to be discussing with you. I'm going to give you drop the science on you. We're going to put calm on the water, perspective in the air. I'm going to talk to you about what's really happening, not only with gold, but with silver and with other commodities, where China is and where I believe this thing is going to land. And you're not going to want to miss it because today's going to be a very special show. By the way, the secret sauce is going to be my interview with Philip Patrick when we talk about what is happening with gold and silver. Go to lancewallnau.com/gold. lancewallnau.com/gold, or write that down right now because you're going to want that information halfway through this show. You're going to go, I got to do something. lancewallnau.com/gold. Let's get into today's broadcast. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Lance Wallnau Show. And I'm telling you, I'm so glad that I've got for a moment here, I've got the man I go to who is the actual expert. You see him on War Room a lot with Steve Bannon if you watch Real America's Voice. But Philip Patrick he's the guy that actually has been studying what's going on globally and economically enough so that I could throw him some questions. And I do ask him questions which are out of the mainstream because I'm curious myself. Philip, would you please join us? There you are.
Thank you for having me, Lance.
I'm glad to see you there, and I'm glad to see that the backdrop is the same. The fires did not hit your house, evidently. I'm just, so you're safe. Mercedes, welcome to the show.
Hey, Lance, happy to be here.
She's back from Washington. She's our new Washington person.
Washington
she was up there at the
correspondent?
White House, up there with the news and with all the action up there. She's a bit like Natalie Winters, don't you think? She's our smart young millennial Natalie Winters type.
Hilarious, Lance. Thank you, though. Thank you. High praise.
All right, so here's my question. The BRICS are back at it again. And I'll tell you what, it gets me jumpy, a little bit yippy, as Trump says. When I see, they're all joining hands. There's Modi with India, and then there's, China, Xi and Putin, and they're all smiley. They don't pose like that with Trump, I've noticed. And they're on their way down to South Africa, that bastion of Marxist, segregation. And I'm wondering, I see the dollar obviously having a bit of a crisis, and a lot of that is self-imposed by Trump and his own calculus. But is there anything about this particular gathering that gives it any credibility in terms of displacing the dollar, or or is it just going to create more opportunity for them to come up with another way of triangulating against the American economy being so disruptive?
Look, I think it's probably the latter, but look, officially, this is just another working session between bureaucrats talking about economic cooperation, international prosperity. Unofficially, though, the BRICS leadership are expected to announce major advancements in their shadow financial system, essentially a 21st century alternative to the existing dollar-denominated systems. Inside sources are hinting at sort of a coordinated push to link the various systems that BRICS have been developing over the last decade, things like mBridge and BRICS Pay and commodity settled trade thing to rival SWIFT. The goal here being to make dollar-free international transactions, which, by the way, are already happening, but this wants to make them possible at scale. And it's a culmination of their ongoing project to try and end the dollar's monopoly as global reserve. Look, in answer to your question, it's a big question. I don't think that the BRICS are ready yet to usurp the US dollar, but the more transactions that start to happen outside of US dollars, ultimately it will weaken the dollar's position on a global scale, so that ultimately in the future, we're at risk of losing that position.
So let's talk about the countries of consequence that are part of this. I see Russia and China getting cheeky. Russia just dropped, a missile right in the middle of Kiev, basically saying to Trump, I don't care what you say, I'll do what I want to do. China obviously is sending a message that we won't be bowing down to the U.S. ever. But I don't see India being anxious to get on the wrong side of Trump, and they know they got a good relationship. And they also all know, Saudi Arabia knows that you don't want to lose Trump as an ally in the Middle East. Russia and China don't have any experience here. So they could come up with more destabilizing information. By the way, when money gets nervous, where does it go? You and I know it. It goes to gold. And I got to tell you, I'm having some regrets. For years, I've been talking about the rise of gold, and I'm watching it now. Almost, it looks in the aftermath of President Trump's negotiations over tariffs. I only see gold going up, but I think what is silver doing? Is silver going with it?
It's moving up. They're both moving quite aggressively since the start of the year, end of last year, and it's no surprise. I mean, you and I and Mercedes, we've been talking about the economic fundamentals supporting gold for a long time, and now we're seeing the result of that. By the way, someone told me something smart. They said, because you mentioned regret, they said, whenever you invest, there's going to be an element of regret, right? If you invest in something and it goes down, you're going to regret it. You invest in something and it shoots up, you're going to regret not buying more of it. So regret is a normal part of investing. I just want to be clear on that.
Well, and I got to be honest. My regret is that I didn't do more. And I saw it, and it reminds me of a parable. We got a great parable here in the Bible about Jesus talked about these 10 virgins that are called to a wedding, and 5 were ready and 5 were not. 5 had oil in their lamps and 5 did not have enough preparation. And the admonition to those that didn't have enough oil for the journey, for their lamps, was go to those that sell oil and get some. And I began to think, I feel like the people that are selling the oil, the people that know what's going on, are people like me. I'm in the information news desk. And then I'm realizing I'm telling people what to do, but am I even taking advantage of what I know? And now I'm looking, that's my regret, that I'm right now looking at all of my finances and saying, I personally need to take seriously what's happening with precious metals and with gold, because I'm convinced in my gut that this it ain't going to go down. It's only going to go up, because gold benefits by the instability that is in the earth, and instability is Trump's middle name right now. Not that I don't back him, but that he's causing a deliberate discombobulation of global economics to reset the global economy. And it's a really precarious time. Mercedes, am I overstating this?
No, I think it's true because, even with everybody talking about Trump's tax cuts, we've got tariffs, you still have massive debt. We still are going to have to balance the budget. And so that affects the Americans' everyday, bottom line. And so I guess my question, Philip, is what can everyday Americans do, right? So we have you come on. Obviously, we're talking about the problem, but Lance always tells this story of the guy in the back of church, like when you're ministering as a pastor, and then they're yelling in the back. They go, "So what?"
With every
So
sermon,
what?
every
Like,
sermon,
what does
I
it
imagine
mean?
a guy in the balcony yelling, "So what?" If I don't have a "so what," it was a missed point.
Yeah. So it's like, so for Americans at home, so what? So what can they do? I mean, you've got Americans with IRAs, they're watching inflation hit that. We've got just even physical gold and silver. I mean, talk to us about how this affects people, your average day American.
Of course, and it's a great question. That's ultimately what it boils down to. Look, you said it yourself, Lance. I support President Trump. I support him in everything that he's doing. At the end of the day, the system was broken, and we have to break it down and we have to rebuild. And there's going to be an element of hardship that we have to get through. The American people are feeling it. On top of that, President Trump has a very tough job, right? We talked about debt. We talk about deficit. Look what happened with tariffs recently, right? We tried to stand firm. Borrowing rates on US debt skyrocketed because China and Japan sold our debt, and we had to about course. So it's difficult to implement the policies that he's trying to do. In the meantime, what we are going to continue to see, I believe, is volatility. We've seen it in financial markets. We're seeing, inflation rearing its head again. The dollar's losing value. It's lost 10% of its buying power or more so far this year alone. And in these climates, when we're seeing prices rise, the value of our currency come down, gold is a safe haven. It's the reason it's moving. It's the reason it's up over 20% this year. So for individuals out there that are seeing this, I think it's just a case of taking a cautious and preemptive step to
Yeah.
hedge your exposure, right? If you have an IRA, you can roll over any portion of it. Cash in the bank, we can work with as well and get physical precious metals, which will hedge that overall exposure and mitigate some of that downside.
All right, and we can do that. Mercedes, where do they go to do that?
Sure. If you want to find out more and work with some of the great, helpful financial advisors over there at BRICS, you can go to lancewallnau.com/gold. And what you could do is you just put your information in there, and there's an awesome information packlet that they have for you to get started. You know, what does it mean to you? So what? It answers all of the questions that you might have. And even one of their gold specialists will call you, probably even that same day. They're really great about that. So answer any questions you have. And if this is right for you, you want to check it out. lancewallnau.com/gold.
And now for the bonus round, because we have 2 minutes and 19 seconds, I want to get a hold of Philip for this very important question. I'm reading, Gordon Chang is talking about, I'm a little worried about China. I'm reading, I'm trying to read the Chinese tea leaves here and see what they're doing. But I'm comforted by the fact that Australia, the Philippines, certainly Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, have not experienced warm fuzzies with China. They've demonstrated maritime aggression, going over naval boundaries and such. Is it an understatement to say that we don't really see a lot of warmth and affection in the Asia-Pacific Rim towards teaming up with China against the United States? Because I just want to have my nerves settled on that while I'm doing other stuff. What do you say?
Listen, we've definitely seen some cracks appearing in the BRICS structure, right? There is nobody yet that can overtake the US dollar. It is the cleanest shirt in the dirty laundry basket. There isn't a rival yet. So I am encouraged as well. And I think Trump and the team have to start working to bring allies together. However, the BRICS are gathering steam. Right? There are more international transactions happening now outside of US dollars than they were a year or 2 years ago. And the more that continues, the more the dollar's share of international transactions is reduced, the weaker the dollar becomes, and the weaker the longer term argument starts to become. So any diversification globally outside of dollars isn't good for us. And the reason it is so precarious at the moment is because of the amount of debt that we're holding, right?
It's crazy. It's so suicidal and so maddening because the left in the United States will not address it. They'll manipulate the subject in order to go back into office as socialists. And the right just wants to kick the can down the road because they don't want it to be on their watch. They got to deal with it. Even President Trump doesn't want to be the guy that has to do a cutting of services, even though it's going to be indispensable, and 10 million extra mouths to feed doesn't make it any easier. Philip, thank you for being with us once again. It's going to be Lance Wallnau /gold. Yeah, lancewallnau.com/gold. You can get the brilliance of Philip Patrick and a 10-page report along with that. Thank you, brother, for being with us. I hope you do come back.
Thank you.
God bless you.
I have one more question for Philip, though. And I don't know if we're still rolling or not. But Philip, did you see in Arkansas that they passed the law, that Sarah Huckabee Sanders passed the law to make gold legal tender? Have you seen that?
Yeah, they have, and they're pushing many, many states to try and do it. So it's really interesting.
What do you think that means for gold? Like, if it has an actual use case, does that make gold more valuable, you think?
Yeah, I think it absolutely makes it valuable. And we also have to see what they do on the taxation side, because if they view gold as money, technically you shouldn't tax the flow of money. It could be really interesting. So this could, if it gathers steam and goes across multiple states, it can increase demand for gold and ultimately push the price up.
Well,
so
and even states holding it, right? Like I think they have to deliver on actual like housing all of this gold. I know Texas has a depository, but I don't know if Arkansas does. So it would be very interesting to watch. I wasn't sure if you guys were tracking with it and if it's exciting.
To me, the way Trump would look at that is if gold takes on so much momentum as a transactional currency that it hurts the dollar, he will create disincentives for people going to gold as currency because it's hurting the dollar.
I agree with that, and that was always my thought on crypto. But look at the exemption for gold bullion. They tariffed
Mm.
almost every commodity, and they had an exemption for gold bullion, which I thought was interesting.
Wow. Interesting. All
Yeah.
right. Well, cool. I just wanted to know what you guys were thinking about it, Philip. So thanks.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that.
Bye now.
Thank
You
you.
can go now.
Bye.
Bye, Philip.
That was the bonus
No,
round.
no, it's you guys. Have a great day. Thank you all
Yeah.
so much.
So my question that I'm sure people are going to ask is, I'm going to ask Philip this. Actually, I could ask one of the Birch advisors.
Mhm.
Is suppose you put your money into gold and silver.
Yeah.
Are people that are not sophisticated investors that don't
Yeah.
do this all the time. So it goes up to 3,000. It's already past that. I
Yeah.
started at 2,400. It's down up to 3,300. Think about that. When I started 3 years ago.
Mhm.
Now it goes to 3,500, maybe 4,000. They're saying it could go up to 5.
Wow.
What happens when you want to cash that out? How does that work? I mean, do you just put it out on the market and people and does Birch do that transaction?
Yeah,
or-
you would sell it. Yeah, you can either sell it back to Birch or sell it someplace else or to someone else. You
for,
do
for
that
the
way.
for the current price of
For
gold.
the current price, but you would be taxed on it like you would if it was a stock.
And that's capital gains, right? So
Yes,
you're taxed on
yes.
it like, hey, I
Like,
made money here.
I think it's like 33%. I can look up what
Yeah,
capital
okay.
gains is right
Interesting.
now.
I just want to.
But that's
I want to follow that out with the audience because
well, and that's the problem with gold right now. So when we have Kevin Freeman on, who talks about, and it's the person that was responsible for getting this bill passed with, the Arkansas State House and Senate and the governor signing it, that the reason he did it was originally to protect us against central bank digital currencies, and said, hold on a second, we can't just have crypto taking over and the dollar's weakening. That can't be the only solution. So he said it could be gold, that states have the legal right to create their own coined silver and gold. And so it's a literal use case for it. But what it ends up connecting to is like almost like a MasterCard, that way to your point is like, I could pay for my coffee with my MasterCard that's linked to my gold bank account. And I'm literally spending my gold. Like that actually happens today. There's a number of products out there that do that. But you're taxed at capital gains rate. So it's like 30%. So it doesn't make sense to do it. So the solution is what Kevin Freeman and Marnie have been working on is these bills state by state and creating it as legal tender. So it's going to be
so if
very
Arkansas
fascinating.
does it, which is Sarah Sanders Huckabee, which is so cool that she's doing that.
Well, and now all the other states are like, oh, well,
Well,
they're doing it.
All
We
it
got
has to
to
happen
do
is
it.
Texas or Florida.
Texas would be great because we have our own gold depository here already, and
Does
that
that
would
help
be
you with
ideal.
your state if you have your own gold? Does it make a difference?
Well, yeah, you got a place to securely store all the gold.
So, all right, we got 7 minutes left on today's show, and I want to,
Yep.
since we're in talking finances, and you're here today, let's talk about crypto for baby boomers who don't understand it.
We're gonna hard pivot into crypto unprepared
Well,
for baby boomers.
It's easy for you to do it because you understand it. Explain to the people out there that are
Yes.
older,
Okay.
folks like myself. The president did a soft pivot on crypto and on Bitcoin, much to the relief of your crowd, which is like, wanting to see something other than the dollar. Here's what's happening. People don't trust the economy in the future, and particularly Christians that are looking at potential shaking of economic systems. What is it about crypto that you like, and how does it actually work in 6 minutes or less?
Oh man, Lance. I mean, there's so many different types of crypto. So there's a lot of different use cases.
Can you
for
use
each one.
crypto as a currency?
Yes, you could use crypto as a currency, and some are built to do that, and others are not. Others are more built as like a store of value. Bitcoin is traditionally compared to gold, and there's a fixed amount of it. So unlike gold or splitting stocks, like there's a fixed amount of Bitcoin, which is why the price continues to go up. So it's basic supply and demand in Bitcoin's case. And so I think it's almost at 94,000 today. I want to say in 2018.
So all right.
Which you're welcome, by the way, because in 2018, I told Lance, you have to buy some Bitcoin. So we got you some Bitcoin, and you've, I think, almost tripled that.
I guess so. I guess I've done something. I'll have to check it out. However,
Yes.
thank you for reminding me. I haven't looked at any of this lately.
Yes.
But if gold goes up to like 3,500, but Bitcoin's 90,000.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing that's exciting for young people like myself is it's think of it as almost like I guess the best way to compare it for you is like maybe like penny stocks. Like back in the day, you get in on Amazon before Amazon was something big, and that's like how a lot of this crypto's been. It's created new generational wealth for a lot of young people that we're kind of tracking within. Not to say it was all young people, but people who were kind of early adopters have really profited from it. And then there's other types of crypto too. You know, like there's certain ones like a use case for XRP is that they want to basically replace SWIFT. So like the delay in settlement in bank transactions that, you know, you got to wire something, it might take a while to show up. It's got to settle overnight. Like it's very outdated technology that we run our whole financial system off of. And so there's certain ones like XRP that wants to replace that. So like real-time settlement, you know, cross-border payments, and just make it a lot easier to move money. So there's all sorts. I mean, there's Ethereum, a lot of applications are built on top of that. There's just thousands upon thousands of different cryptos right now. And then there's just trash tokens. Like it's like stocks. It's like investing in companies. You want to do your research into the use case for each of these cryptos and then invest it in accordingly.
Well, I don't get the tokens. I heard about that for a while. They were hot, and then I stopped looking at them.
You mean like NFTs?
Yeah, NFT.
Yeah.
Explain to us what NFT, because I'm telling you, you're familiar with this stuff, but you're talking about XRP and Ethereum,
Yes.
NFTs, and it's
LMNOPs, TCPY.
you might as well be talking about
Yes.
Bible books from the outside of the 66 that are in the canon.
Yeah. I mean, so the interesting thing with NFTs, it kind of went a little sideways for a while where we had a lot of different images. And the idea is it's basically like one image that you own. It's like a digital way to say you own this digital document, this digital image, and only you own it. And so that was how it kind of went viral. Like you had a lot of different there was like a monkey one, like a monkey image one that went really crazy. A lot of it, in my opinion, was probably just straight up money laundering, where like you would do for art, where you look at some of these art pieces and you're like, why is that selling for that? But the real use case for like an NFT would be like buying and selling homes. So you could do that electronically and digitally. And then anyways, I feel like I don't know how deep to go, but the other idea is essentially just decentralization, is that behind most crypto tokens is the idea of like a diversified ledger, that it's not one place where, you know, all of your financial transaction documentation is stored, but it's stored on an open ledger.
In an apocalyptic scenario where there's a great crash, does crypto and Bitcoin, is that unaffected by an economic crash? Is it its own economy, functioning its own?
Brother, I'm going to tell you, use case a lot of things. If we have an EMP, I'm going to be using my gold and silver.
Right, that disables electronic
if the dollar
transfer.
collapses, which I think ultimately, like, you know how like we are like, they're doing it. Like, I don't know who they is, but you know, when we talk about they're going to crash the economy, I think that that's what most people think, is that it will all move digital and you'll end up with essentially like maybe some different economic regions, which we've talked about before, how you get like the 10 toes on the statue.
Oh,
in Daniel.
10 toes of the beast, right? The 10 rulers, which would be 10 economic regions of the world, all basically operating with one digital currency.
Yeah, and the really dangerous part of it is like central bank digital currencies, is taking physical assets and making them all digital, right? So we don't have paper money anymore. We're just going to all tap pay, and it's all stored here digitally. That's
and people
when
like you are accelerating that. I'm sorry. Every time you tap pay, I do not believe in tap pay, ladies and gentlemen. I went into a salad restaurant today with my son Lance.
Yes.
I did not have my phone, which has all my credit cards in the back of them.
Oh, man.
So, but I happen to have had a little vinyl bag where I have books and products every now and then when I'm traveling.
Oh.
And I had a lot of change in it. It was just all $1 bills.
Yeah.
So I paid for lunch with 36 $1 bills.
Wow. That's hilarious.
And as I'm counting it out meticulously, my son says, Dad, I don't think they take cash. Can you believe it,
Really?
people? Places that don't take cash exist in the United States. I ran into it in Florida.
Yeah.
They don't take cash. What's going on here? They're preparing for the cashless society. It's the beast stalking the streets.
Well, and this is where you could be penalized when you don't meet the social credit system, that your dollar doesn't go as far as, some, let's say, somebody else that's been more victimized than you, that maybe their dollar goes farther.
Well, I remember
maybe,
Glenn Beck gave me I hit the panic bar on his with the digital currency, and then based on the equity scale of redistribution of wealth, well, you have an underprivileged situation, so you're going to have more value for the dollar than this person here.
Yeah, that's scary.
Oh boy, did that, just the thought of that.
And full circle, that's why what Kevin Freeman's doing is so important. It's another hedge against CBDCs.
And explain what that is in 20 seconds.
It's where we started, Lance. It's with Kevin Freeman, where he works so hard with Marnie, his wife, and so many others to get this bill passed in Arkansas that allows us to use gold as physical currency. And it's a protection against CBDCs, a digital dollar, that it's an alternative to, if the system crashes, go back to your question, if the system crashes, what else can we use? If the dollar's going away, what else can we use? And the answer is gold.
Oh my, that's powerful.
Okay.
Now that makes sense. That makes me want to get that gold investment with that card.
There you go.
I'm hearing it now, people. All right. Well, I hope you got this education. Sometimes you have to go into a subject you're not familiar with. My dad used to always lecture me. By the way, I saved a letter from my dad to me so you could read it.
Oh, really?
Because it was so classic from my father. And he would write, because he was like a lawyer and he's a military guy. Mm-hmm. And I was like the artistic Christian faith son. And he was always trying to help me. Son, you have a good strategic. He made me give him strategic plans. And I give him the strategic plan for my business. He goes, of course, the plan looks great, but that's just words. It's going to require action, 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 and follow. It sounded like Steve Bannon as a dad.
It's so funny.
Maybe that's why I psychologically go to Steve Bannon. Oh, my God, I'm having a Jungian moment, an epiphany. Anyway, we're going to see you again tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, where we're going to have subjects you are familiar with, as opposed to NFTs, XRPs, Ethereum, Bitcoin, and what to do with the new gold credit card, which I think some of you are going to like, because I'm certainly interested in it now that I understand it. See you again tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. Bye-bye.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends.